Good afternoon, dear students. Welcome to our online lesson. And my name is Gulmira Zhalkeldinna. I am a teacher of English at NIS Physics and Mathematics School in Astana. So let's start. So have a quick look at these pictures and try to define the meaning of the phrase "getting your views across." You have 2 minutes to discuss in your pairs. Good. You are very close to the meaning, and getting your views across means get one's view across, successfully communicate one's idea or opinion. So today's, as you noticed, the topic of our lesson is getting your views across. So today's learning, the objectives that we are going to cover, they are: use speaking and listening skills to solve problems creatively and cooperatively in groups. Respect differing points of view. Develop and sustain a consistent argument when speaking and writing. Use talk or writing as a means of reflecting on exploring a range of perspectives on the world. Understand the detail of an argument in an unsupported extended talk on a range of familiar and unfamiliar general and curricular topics. In the reading part, we will work on understanding complex and abstract main points in extended texts on a wide range of familiar and unfamiliar general and curricular topics, deduce meaning from the context in extended texts on a wide range of familiar and unfamiliar general and curricular topics, select and evaluate paper and digital reference resource to check meaning and extend understanding. Okay, and in speaking part, 11th S1, use formal and informal language registers in talk on a range of general and curricular topics, including some familiar and unfamiliar topics. Explain and justify own and others' point of view on a range of familiar and unfamiliar general and curricular topics. And use of English. Use a range of dependent prepositions with less common nouns, adjectives, and verbs and on a wide range of general and curricular topics. And by the end of the lesson, you will learn how to debate and support the discussion, explain and justify own and others' point of view, communicate effectively and successfully. Now let's go further. So I would like you to discuss in pairs and to discuss the following statements. Which of the following statements you do often when you communicate? So you have some time to think and discuss it in pairs, and next to each statement, please put yes or no. For example, state your opinion clearly and concisely. Do we do it usually? If you do it always, you can write yes just next to this statement. And discuss following statements. Never say, "I'm not sure." Paraphrase and reformulate what you want to say so that the listener can understand easily. Use body language. Use phrases to try to persuade your partner to agree with you. Do not let your partner interrupt before you have made your point. Try to open to your partner's point of view. periodically summarize what you have said so far. Use a wide range of vocabulary. Use grammar accurately so that the listener is not distracted or confused. Okay, so what do you have? Please, you may discuss it in pairs and compare your answers. This exercise will give you some information how you communicate with people. Do we do it successfully or not? Now let's go further. So you are going to listen to the expert on communication skills. Her name is Rosemary Bailey, and she's going to give you some suggestions. But before you listen to her, I would like you to look through these statements. Which of these statements are true? So while you will be listening, so please find true and false statements from this list. People communicate less effectively with people they perceive as being very different from themselves. In social situations, the more questions you ask, the better. You should never pause during conversation with people you do not know very well. You shouldn't look people in the eye for too long, or you may give the wrong message. When you're complaining, do not be distracted by listening too closely to what the other person is saying. It is very useful if you summarize the other person's point of view at the end of your complaint. Many people naturally have good communication skills. Now please listen carefully and try to find true statements.
Module 3, Recording 1.
Rosemary, what are the most common situations where people have problems in communicating?
Well, probably one of the main situations where people have problems communicating is where they're unsure of who they're talking to. So, for instance, going to a party and it's a room full of strangers, people you've never ever met before. That generally for most people will prove to be a little bit of a difficult situation. I suppose the second area is where people are unsure of what they're talking about, so the content worries them for whatever reason. And the third area is where we're in a situation of speaking to an audience who we perceive are very different to us. So they are different in terms of their age, or their experience, or their status.
So that's quite general, so can we think of a specific example? Maybe that party again.
Well, let's suppose you're introduced to someone, again, a total stranger, you've never met them before, and you don't know them, you are introduced to them, and you, from the introduction, you gather that they're actually quite an important person, they're quite high status, they're very experienced, they're much older than you, and all of a sudden we think, my goodness, why would they possibly want to listen to me? And we feel totally lacking confidence.
In that situation, what are the most common mistakes they're going to make?
Well, probably one of the most common mistakes would be they would want to speak too much. They'd say too much. All this information would come out of their mouths, but what they really should be doing in that situation is asking some questions to get the other person talking to them. Not too many questions, because if we ask too many questions, it sounds like an interrogation. But getting the balance right between giving some information, but also asking for information as well through questioning. Probably one of the other things they would do tied into that, they wouldn't pause enough, they wouldn't stop to allow the other person to reflect on what they've said and to give them time to think about what they're going to say next and to reflect on what's been said to them. So that would be something they need to be careful of, and to always remember that when we do pause, when we communicate, it will seem quite a length of time to us, but it won't to the person we're speaking to.
And what about eye contact?
Well, if we don't look at someone, they immediately think that they can't trust us or we're not telling the truth. So eye contact is very important. We've got to make sure we get it right. If we give too much, they could perceive that we rather like them a little bit too much, or maybe we're being a little aggressive towards them. So we've got to get the eye contact about right. About 3 seconds in general is about right before we move away from the face and then come back to the eyes.
A situation I often find I have trouble with is when I need to complain about something. What sort of mistakes might I be making?
Well, I think it's very common to feel uncomfortable about making a complaint. Probably one of the most common things that people do in that situation is they're tempted to say far too much. So they become very unclear about the nature of the complaint. They're not precise enough. They may well be tempted to speak far too quickly as well, because actually we want to get to the end of the complaint because you don't particularly like complaining in the first place. We may also fall into the trap of not listening enough to what the other person has said, because actually we may be becoming emotional too, and therefore we listen less actively to what the person's saying to us. And they in turn may not listen very well to us either. So the whole complaint may become totally out of hand, and we may end up completely falling out with one another. So that's probably why complaints can be very difficult to handle.
So those are the problems you might encounter when you're complaining. How do you make a successful complaint?
Well, the first thing to do is to think and plan how you're going to voice your concerns. So don't go straight into it. You've really got to think and consider what's needs to be said. Make sure the sentences are short. Take out any language which could be seen as being emotional and irritating to the other party. And then wait and be prepared to get a response from the other person who you've made the complaint to, and really listen actively to what they're saying and summarise or test your understanding of what they've said to make sure you totally understand their point of view.
And when you summarise something, how do you do that effectively?
Well, if you think of summarising as being simply restating in a more compact form what the other person has said to you, so that you've included all the key things, and make sure that you've understood exactly what they're saying to you. So we're restating in a compact form what's been said to us.
How would you summarise why good communication is so important?
Because in whatever situation we're in, we always have to deal with people, and we have to communicate with people. And if we're going to get the best out of people and build relationships successfully, whether it be at work or in a social situation, we need to have good communication skills. And we mustn't think that good communication skills are something that we all naturally have. It's something that we all need to work on to make sure that we build good relationships.
So take your time. So you have 2 minutes to discuss it in your pairs, to compare your answers. Then we will check the answers together. Good. I think that you found it very useful, the information that you were given by the expert. Now let's check the answers. For A, statement A, it is true because they feel that the other person won't be interested in them. False, you should ask some, but not too many, or it will sound like an interrogation. So interrogation means questions. False. You should pause to allow the other person to reflect on what you have said and to give you time to think about what you are going to say next. True, you may give the message that you like them too much or come across as aggressive. E is false. You should listen actively and to the other person. True, it is F. It helps to summarize or test your understanding on what you've said. And G, it is false. Many people need to work on communication skills. Okay, good, well done. Now let's move. Now I have another task for you. So watch the video and find just one word that could summarize the whole video. So watch the video very carefully and then be ready to answer my question. A word, you have to give a word that could summarize the whole video. Okay, so do you have any guessing? A word that could summarize the whole video. What is happening in the video? What are they doing? Yes, they are arguing, and the word that could summarize this video is an argument. Well done. So, an argument, it is a kind of the disagreement, right? So in order to communicate successfully, you have to solve the disagreement. What do you think? How can you communicate effectively and successfully? So take a sheet of paper. Again, in your small groups, write a list of tips in order to communicate successfully. So you have some time to think and give your answers. Okay, well done. Now you are going to read the text about how to communicate successfully and effectively, but it will be a kind of grammar exercise. Effective communication. So have a look. You are given a list of phrases. There are nouns and with dependent prepositions and adjectives with dependent prepositions. So they are an effect on, annoyed by, at fault, aware of, better at, by mistake, different from, in business, without exception, and wrong about. Okay, now please complete the following text with these phrases. Read quickly and find the suitable phrase. How A, so the missing phrase, how staff communicate with each other and with customers is vitally important. Not everyone is. The importance of using both the right language and the appropriate tone of voice. You can give someone the right information, but B, and the missing phrase, the way you have chosen to express yourself when you do this, in this case, you could be sending the wrong message. D, by putting it in an appropriate way. The same issue applies to writing. The way you come across in an email may be the missing phrase, the way you speak on the phone or talk to someone face to face. Okay, the continuation. Some people may even be what you say if you appear too friendly or too distant. In writing the organization of a letter or email is typeface, and general appearance can also have how the message is understood. In this case, your style of writing may be, and you may need more practice. It may be true that some people are naturally communicating than others, but all staff need training in this area, and their performance should be monitored. Okay, so take your time, complete the text, compare your answers with your partner, okay, now let's check the answers. In business, how staff communicate with each other and with customers is vitally important. Not everyone is aware of the importance of using the right language and the appropriate tone of voice. You can give someone the right information, but be wrong about the way you have chosen to express yourself when you do this. In this case, you could be sending the wrong message by mistake by putting it in an appropriate way. The same issues apply to writing. The way you come across in an email may be very different from the way you speak on the phone or talk to someone face to face. Some people may even be annoyed by what you say if you appear too friendly or too distant. In writing the organization of a letter or email, its typeface and general appearance can also have an effect on how the message is understood. In this case, your style of writing may be at fault, and you may need more practice. It may be true that some people are naturally better at communicating than others, but all staff, without exception, need training in this area, and their performance should be monitored. Good. Now, I think again you found this text useful, and you can use it in your further studies. Okay, now let's go further. Debate. So today we are going to organize a debate class, because debate is one of the forms of argument. So, and that's why when you do a debate class, you have to be very careful with your words and communicate successfully. How to do a debate class? So think and give your answers. What should we do at first before we organize a debate class? Of course, we have to choose a hot topic. We have to state a hot topic, a whole class awareness of the issues surrounding these topics, and use language to piece an argument together. Good. Well done. Now, still we are missing some points. Yes, right. We will need to complete this graphic organizer. So you have your own opinion, but you have to give reasons and evidence. As many reasons as you have, so you have to give the same number of evidence. Good. Now, and of course we have to know some useful phrases to present an argument. For example, I'm ready into minds about. It is often said that, On the one hand, unfortunately, another point is that if, and I'm not alone in this opinion, many consider that, however, it could be argued that, secondly, if, first of all, there are so many benefits of, but I believe that it would be easy. Moreover, the most important point is that, nevertheless, these inconveniences would be an inevitable part of and would be greatly overweighted by the other advantages. On the other hand, I could end up. Furthermore, okay, now we have another phrases that could express your agreement and disagreement. I totally agree with you. That might have been the case once, but I'm sorry, I can't agree with. Exactly, I'm afraid you are wrong. That isn't strictly true. I couldn't agree more. I disagree entirely. Perhaps, but I am inclined to disagree with that. That's true. I am afraid that isn't right. I'm sorry, but I disagree. You are absolutely right. Nonsense. Possibly, but I am concerned with is that may be the case. However, that makes no sense. So these phrases, you have to use them in the following exercise, in categorizing. So please categorize these phrases above, into three groups. I agree with some, but not all of what you are saying, and I disagree. So you have about 3 minutes to put into a relevant column. Now you have some time to compare your answers with your neighbors. Okay. Of course, in order to organize a debate class, you have to know the rules and some words that could be connected with a debating club. Chair, so the person who controls the debate. Motion, the viewpoint that is argued for or against. Proposer speaks in favor of the motion, which in many cases they have written. Opposes speaks against the motion after the proposer has made the speech. Seconders, two people who speak after the proposer and opposer, one for and one against the motion. Amendments, these are changes that may be suggested for the main motion to change its wording slightly. Amendments also require opposers and seconders. Abstain, if you don't vote either for or against the motion, you are said to abstain. This may be because you can't make up your mind or disagree with both opposing views. House, the name for the room where the debate has taken place and its members. So let's organize a debate club for now. So, and we are sitting in our house. We will have two different groups, opposers and proposers. The motion I will give you later, and of course you are welcome to make some amendments, and the chair, maybe I will be the chair of this debate club. Yeah? So that means I will control the debate process. And we need two people who will play the role of the seconders. So they will speak after proposer and opposer. Good. Well done. Now let's go further. So we need a hot topic. Yes, we have revised the useful phrases. We've studied the useful phrases that you can express your agreement and disagreement. Now we have the graphic organizer to organize your opinion, the reasons and evidence. So now we need to state our hot topic, and the topic will be the following. Now have a look. What is this? Please answer the question. What can you see in this picture? What does it remind you? Yes, right. You were right. It is DNA. But do you know the full scientific name of the DNA? What is the full scientific name of the DNA? Okay, so the full scientific name of the DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, now, do you know anything about DNA? What are some facts you know about DNA? Okay, so I'm going to show the video about DNA, and your task is to find how the DNA is useful.
Stated Clearly presents What is DNA and how does it work? DNA, also known as deoxyribonucleic acid, is a molecule. It's a bunch of atoms stuck together. In the case of DNA, these atoms combine to form the shape of a long, spiraling ladder, sort of like this one here. If you ever studied biology or saw the movie Jurassic Park, you probably heard that DNA acts as a blueprint or a recipe for a living thing. But how? How on earth can a mere molecule act as a blueprint for something as complex and wonderful as a tree, a dog, or a dinosaur? To help answer that question, let's first take a quick look at amino acids. Amino acids are tiny little chemicals inside our bodies that are so important, they're often referred to as the building blocks of life. There's about 20 different kinds, each with their own unique shape. The neat thing about them is they can be attached to each other kind of like Legos to produce an endless variety of larger particles known as proteins. Amino acids make up proteins. Proteins, along with other chemicals, combine to form living cells. Cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. And organs, when they're all put together and functioning, of course, combine to form living creatures like you and me. These proteins that make up our bodies, and keep in mind there's millions of different kinds of proteins, they each have to be formed in the perfect shape in order to function. If they're the wrong shape, they usually won't work. That's where DNA comes in. DNA does a lot of interesting things, some of which we don't fully understand, but one of its main and most well understood functions is to tell amino acids how to line up and form themselves into the perfect protein shapes. In theory, if the right proteins are built at the right time and in the right place, everything else from cells to organs to entire creatures will come out just fine. This here is a simplified model of DNA. It shows us that the steps of the ladder are made up of 4 different kinds of chemicals shown here by different colors and letters. If you look at just one half of the molecule, you can read its chemical sequence or genetic code from top to bottom, sort of like a book. A single strand of DNA is extremely long, millions of letters long. It spends most of its life coiled up like a noodle living inside the nucleus or the centerpiece of a cell. Amino acids, however, live outside the nucleus in what's called the cytoplasm. To help DNA interact with the cytoplasm and convert those amino acids into proteins, special chemicals inside the nucleus make partial copies of the DNA code. These partial copies, called RNA, look a lot like DNA, but they're shorter, of course, and they're missing one of their sides. Their small shape and size allows them to fit through tiny pores in the nucleus, out to the cytoplasm, and into the mouth of another particle called a ribosome. Ribosomes are protein-building machines. They read the RNA code 3 letters at a time, suck amino acids out of their surroundings, and stick them together in a chain according to the RNA code. As the chain grows, it bends, it folds, and it sticks to itself to form a perfectly shaped protein. Every 3 letters of the RNA code tell the ribosome which of the 20 different kinds of amino acids should be added next. For example, CAA tells the ribosome to grab a glutamine. AGU tells it to grab a serine, and so on. Once a protein is built, it can then go on to do a number of different things, one of which could be to help form a brand new cell. So to answer the original question, what is DNA? DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing. How does it work? DNA creates RNA, RNA creates protein, proteins go on to form life. This entire process, as complicated, as sophisticated, as magical as it might seem, is entirely based in chemistry. It can be studied, it can be understood. I'm John Perry, and that's DNA stated clearly.
Okay, now I think you have a good understanding what DNA it is. Yes? Now, we are not going to talk about DNA structure. We are going to discuss should governments create a DNA database of all citizens. It will be our hot topic. Yes? And we need 2 different groups, for and against. Who is for that? Who thinks that we have to create a DNA database for the citizens? So take your place on this bench. So who is against? So you are welcome to take your seat on this bench. Right? Good. Now you take your time, and please, both groups, you have to prepare arguments, you have to use facts, and please give reasons. Please use this graphic organizer where you write your opinion, you give reasons, and you show the evidence. Good. And of course we need the success criteria that we can evaluate your speech. So 12S1, use formal and informal language registers in talk on a range of familiar and unfamiliar general and curricular topics. And 12S3, you have to explain and justify your own and others' point of view. And the task is, learners prepare a speech debate using any supplementary material. It could be in the form of poster, presentation, pictures, or a video on the topic. Should governments create a DNA database of all citizens? So you have to use formal language register in your talk, then use target language presenting arguments, so 3 useful phrases that we studied earlier. Then give vivid examples on your argument, so to give 2 examples, and support decision with valid reasons. Okay, well done. So, and the other things you may find the other's opinion about creating DNA database, you'll find in this forum. So if you have an internet access, please follow this link and read different points of view online and be ready to add your own opinion. Good. Now, time to assess each other. So when you listen to each other, at the end of the debate, we will evaluate your speech following this success criteria. Good, well done. I hope you did it well and you learned many things on this lesson. Now it's time to give feedback. Yeah. Please complete this table. I knew before. I have learned today and I want to know. So maybe you knew before how to communicate successfully, but you have learned today more strategies of effective communication. You learned more about the strategies how to organize a debate class. Yes, you got more information about DNA and DNA code, and maybe for the next time you want to know more about DNA's how useful to study DNA, how useful to study chemistry. Good, well done. Now your home task is you have to write your opinion on the forum. So answering this question, should governments create a DNA database of all citizens? And you have to support your view with solid arguments. Now, the references and the useful materials that you can find in the following reference. Good, well done. Now, let's go back to the success criteria and discuss how well you did your debate class. Yeah. Did you use formal language register in your talk? Yes, well done. Did you use a target language when you present your arguments? Did you use 3 useful phrases? Good, well done. Did your partner, did the opposers or proposers give vivid examples of their argument? Okay, good. Did they give 2 examples? Well done. Did you support decision with valid reason? Okay, I hope in this debate class you achieved all the learning objectives. Well done. You did a great job. Now, our lesson is coming to the end. So the following materials you can find in this link, in this website. So thank you for your participation. You worked very hard. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.